This is the Drake Insights Podcast, your weekly dose of cutting-edge senior living marketing insights. Join me, your host, Natasha Drake, for bold ideas, proven strategies, and inspiring stories straight from the experts. Tune in and let's conquer the senior living marketing landscape together. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drake Insights Podcast. I am your host, Natasha Drake from Drake Strategic. Let's get started. So today we're going to talk about SOAR or SWOT analysis. You've probably are used to hearing SWOT analysis. I'm going to focus a little more on a SOAR analysis, which is your strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. And really what I'm going to talk about today is the first two, your strengths and opportunities, and how to truly differentiate yourselves and truly find out what your strengths and key selling points are. And the reason this came to be was actually just this week I was having some conversations with some clients, and I think a lot of communities and even agencies think that they have a SWOT analysis and they reuse it every year. You know, if you're not redoing your SOAR SWOT analysis every year, you really need to be, and even looking at it multiple times a year. The reason for that is your strengths will change, right? Many times we'll have opportunities that we have listed that maybe then became strengths, or maybe there was things that were a strength that unfortunately because of one thing or another, they're no longer a strength. Or maybe there's now new competition that no longer sets us apart in that way. And so it's something you want to constantly be looking at, not multiple times a year, but at least once a year, maybe every 6 months if there has been a big operational change in the community, to make sure your messaging is in line with your differentiators to truly set yourself apart from the competition. And again, I know this sounds so simple. I think a lot of people think, yeah, duh, of course. We always start our planning with a SWOT analysis. We always look at our differentiators, but I think you'd be surprised how different and unique your key selling points are or are not from your competition. I will say almost every community that I've been brought on board to assist with doesn't have a deep enough dive of their strengths and opportunities and their positioning statement than they should. Therefore, because of a lot of communities that are in very competitive markets, they're not setting themselves apart from the competition enough to be able to truly distinguish yourselves. And especially now in today's world where it's very competitive, boomers are aging, adult children are looking for their parents. They are doing the research. It's easy for them digitally to get as much research as they can on their website. That'll be another podcast. We'll talk about things to have on your website another time, but it's really important to make sure not only your marketing messaging is depicting your key selling points, but that it starts internal. So this SOAR SWOT analysis needs to include all department heads that truly understand the residents, the community, all of the people involved, all of the services involved, to come up with truly what sets that community apart. So you really need to have everyone involved. And like I said prior, also having this done at least once, maybe twice a year, and reviewing it as you're doing your marketing plan. The reason for that is, like I mentioned, things change, but also because all of your marketing planning and your strategic tactics should be built around those strengths, right? And even your opportunities. We need to look at those constantly to make sure that we are working to turn those opportunities into strengths. And so you want to make sure at least once a year, maybe twice a year if you can, really do a deep dive and make sure that internally and externally, your messaging and your planning and your tactics and your events are all geared around those true strengths and differentiators. So there's a highlight of why and what we're doing here. So now I want to take a little bit more of a dive into what that session looks like. And this is something I'm very passionate about. And for those of you that have worked with me, know when I come in to do a true marketing planning session and we start with our SOAR analysis, I push back a little bit. And I think, and this is some tips to give to you for you to be able to do this without me and what this looks like. So first thing we want to do is let's look at our strengths. And what I tend to do is ask, what are the perceived strengths? And, I don't want to say about 9 times out of 10, most communities will say things like, we're welcoming, we're friendly, we're very family oriented, we have great dining, we have excellent care, we have wonderful nursing staff, the residents love it here, right? And I think you're probably thinking, no, I don't say that. I will say almost all of the SOAR analysis I've done start with that. And I listen and I take notes and write that down because that's a good starting point. But how many of your competitors, if you go on their website or you go to their events or you listen to their sales pitch, do they also say they're very welcoming and friendly and they have great care and they have great dining and they have large apartments, right? They all say the same thing. And so that can't be a strength. So when I'm doing your SOAR analysis, I don't write anything in the strengths category unless it's truly a custom, unique strength of yours that your competition can't also say. And maybe they can say something similar, but it needs to be distinguishing and unique enough to you that they can't write it the same way, if that makes sense. So what I would say to that then, so if someone comes back and says we're really welcoming and friendly, I will say, well, what does that mean? Tell me what that looks like at your community. And then as we're talking, and this is why this is a whole brainstorm planning session with all the department heads for them to kind of talk it amongst each other. And then I, or whoever's moderating, can pick up on what everyone's saying. And what you might find, and what I have found in doing this is, well, warm, friendly, welcoming. Well, then you realize really what it comes down to is you have long tenure staff and team members who've worked there. You have family who's lived there for generations, or you have friends that knew each other before and moved there. So yeah, it's warm and welcoming and friendly. Why? Because we have a strength could be longest tenure of staff, over 30 years compared to the competition. It could also be we have family whose grandparents and parents have lived here. So you have the whole generation that know each other. And another strength it could be is we're friends of friends, right? Referrals live here. And so it's a network of friendly neighbored community. So there we just described 3 custom unique strengths that your competition may not be able to say, right? So we want to make sure we really, really dig in. Another thing that a lot of people say is we have great dining. Well, what does that mean, right? I want to truly understand, is it that you have multiple dining venues? Is it that you have changing menus every day? Is it that you have multiple culinary options from different countries, or that it's farm to table? Like, you need to really dig in. And when you think you've dug in enough, maybe go one more step. Like I tend to go, okay, well, I looked at your competition and they also say they have ever-changing menus. They do all culinary styles. So is there something else that sets you apart? And then this will take you sometimes as you're having this analysis and this thought process and brainstorming, this can then take you to your opportunities. So a lot of times when we dig in, we realize, well, no, our dining is great, but it really is just like our competition. So maybe there's something that's an opportunity that we can work on to make it a strength. So what I mean by that is, maybe you are hiring a new chef. Well, that's not a strength yet, right? That's an opportunity. Once that high 5-star chef gets hired, that will become a strength. So let's put that in the opportunity section. And that's another reason why you want to keep looking at these, because then the next time you review this and you see 5-star dining chef being hired, I hope that's now a strength and you can move that over to your strength section, right, of your report. But another thing also is, say you're going to start a farm-to-table partnership with a local farm in the area. Put that as an opportunity. So I'm trying to show you that this is an organic process. And as you go through the strengths, you're digging in further to really pull out those unique differentiators, coming up with ones that aren't quite strengths yet. So we're putting those in the opportunity category so that next time we look at this, hopefully those then become strengths, and going down the line. And so I hope this is helpful. I'm not doing a full SOAR analysis. Maybe on other podcasts, I'll actually have a live community. I think that would be a great idea to be able to show you the whole process. But I hope this helps give you some tips on how you can conduct your own SOAR or SWOT analysis with or without me. And I'm happy to help you, assist you. Like I said, this is a passion of mine. Another thing you want to make sure, I want to go back and make sure I touch on in terms of strengths. 3 things when you're doing your strengths. Number 1 is it shouldn't be boring and bland and generic, like I just mentioned. So it shouldn't just be warm and welcoming. It really needs to be custom and dig deeper into what does that mean, right? Number 2 is it can't be the same as a competitor. So we can't match and have the exact same things as our competition. It has to be truly unique and custom to you and your community that makes it stand out. And number 3, it has to be realistic. You can't have unrealistic strengths that actually aren't strengths. And what I mean by that is things that you aren't even doing yet, like I mentioned. So you can't say, well, we have this 5-star chef and we have this custom menu. Well, if you haven't set that up yet, then that's an opportunity. Okay, so your strengths has to be things you're doing now that are in the forefront, that are completely unique and custom to you, that your competition can't also say, that are very deeply rooted in who you are and can be perceived that way. If it's something that's a strength that no one knows, well, how do we then add that as the opportunity to bring that to the forefront? And to close our podcast for today, I also want to mention that after we finish talking about then our strengths and our opportunities, you also want to go through your aspirations and results. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Our aspiration is who do we aspire to be? What do we want to be known for? Not just, oh, we're a community that gives great care. No, truly, what are you aspiring to be? And then results are, what are the results that need to be better in order to achieve that aspiration? So that's usually a little bit easier at the end, more tied to maybe your positioning and your sales goals. But really today, I wanted to focus more on how do you dig deeper to truly identify your true strengths and differentiators? And then how do we also come up with opportunities that then become more strengths the next time we meet? And the last point I want to make as well is once we finish this process, it's imperative that not only internally, everyone inside the organization understands, believes these things, lives these things, but then externally in all of our advertising, our messaging, our copy on our website, our direct mail, and our events are geared around these strengths and differentiators. We need to message these appropriately to the market so that they know how you stand out among the competition. So make sure your event plan then is tied around these. So if one of your strengths is a farm-to-table partnership, you should have an event tied to it to showcase that. If it's truly this tenure of team and staff, we should have some kind of event where we have a panel discussion and we meet them. Or if it's residents who've known each other for years, again, let's have a meet the residents event. So some kind of event tactic that really showcases those differentiators and making sure all your messaging, all your marketing and advertising also has these key features intertwined within the copy. So it's very clear to the prospect. You don't want them to have to try to sift and figure it out. It should be clear, and consistency of voice on your website, on your direct mailers, your events, all your ads. There's that consistency of showcasing who you are and what your differentiators are really strongly to the market. Okay, well, that's it for today. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you for watching the Drake Insights podcast. I'm Natasha Drake, and I hope to see you next time. Bye. Real quick, if you enjoyed watching the podcast today, please follow me and subscribe so you're notified for the next podcast. And if you have any questions or want to talk after about anything that Drake Strategic can provide for you, please reach out to me, call me, email me, or visit our website at drakestrategic.com.